So here we are, the final chapter in the Unity pricing war. Let's finish this and be done with it, shall we? So after a long wait, Unity has finally come back with a counter offer to developers. A 2.5% royalty fee for games making over $1 million revenue, with revenue to be self-reported by developers. All forward-facing from 2023 LTS Unity, so nothing retroactive. So they have patched most of the problems in their initial incendiary pricing change, taking the pressure off smaller developers with lower revenue. But some have made the point that we are still worse off than we were 3 weeks ago. But in contrast to where we were just a few days ago, well, this is definitely a move in the right direction and perhaps a path of redemption for Unity. But this is not an open shut book, and Unity has a long road ahead of them to repair trust that has been broken, and for some that trust will never be repaired. On Twitter, Remy Ismail gauged the community sentiment fairly accurately, I believe. This'll at least keep us safe for the time being until we find out what engine to switch to. And I think that's fairly accurate. You know, in my last video, I made the point that Unity probably won't feel the bite of this until current dev cycles finish, people wrap up their games and have to choose a new engine to make their game with. But for the time being, people have a sense of relief knowing that they have a path forward with their current open projects. So one important change they've now rolled out as perhaps a form of concession is the option to remove the splash screen for the free version of Unity. The splash screen, of course, is a contentious topic because a lot of developers don't right now want to show the Unity splash logo because they want to keep their game technologically agnostic when it comes to player perception. So this is fantastic, but there is a catch here that some have missed. You see, you only get this option if you upgrade to 2023 LTS. 2023 LTS is the version, of course, that is subject to all these other pricing changes. So if you want to remove the splash screen, you have to put yourself in a firing line for all these changes. It would have been really nice if they rolled this option out to all the LTS versions, because a lot of people are stuck on earlier versions for various reasons, technical reasons, and they can't do that. So expect a lot of people to park their projects on versions prior to the 2023 LTS so they can protect their games from these fees should their games find success in the future, because you never know what will become successful. A lot of the great hits now weren't planned out to be hits, they just kind of became that for one reason or another. Overall, this is a fairly good compromise from where we started. It's just a shame that we had to be dragged through the hellscape of Mordor to get here. This could have all been avoided, and what a week it's been. And remember, we only have this outcome as a result of our unification and pressure as a community. It's not a gift. And let this be a reminder how important it is to fight for what you believe in, to fight for what is true, for what is just. A coward's life is no life. So to all those people who took part in this movement, who stood up and spoke their truth, especially those big names with influential voices, who spoke up for the smaller indie developers who don't have a voice that carries as much weight, thank you. Seriously, thank you. This turnaround has been primarily driven by you folks. A lot of people have been banging pots and pans on Twitter, but ultimately it's these big names and influencers that made all the difference. And nobody more so than the 1,000 plus mobile development studios that came together to push for this, turning off ads in more than 25 billion combined installs. Remember, Unity makes a lot of money from Unity ads. It's a big part of their business model. So when these game studios came together and turned off these ads, this would have really hurt. So when you see these names, remember what they did for you and show them respect. And as a sign of respect, I want to read to you their final collective letter to Unity, because I think this is very important. The main problem is that an update to the runtime fee doesn't solve the fundamental issue. Its existential impact on the game dev community. Building a game business while paying runtime fees, even with its proposed revenue cap, is not an option, and many developers will use the old version of Unity Engine to avoid that fee. The last announcement shows again that the game developer community has no choice but to explore and focus on other engines. Sadly, Unity is also unwilling to openly communicate with its community in a true dialogue to find common ground and a workable solution. Instead, it chose again to inform its community of the changes as a fact. The market rules are simple. Everyone prefers to do business with partners whose changes in terms and conditions are transparent and consider developers' interests. That is why the community will not rely on Unity in the long run and already started migrating to other engines. As United Game Devs, we will focus on fostering and investing in open source engines. So again, to all the studios involved in this, all the big names that made statements, and all those involved in this united front, on behalf of myself and all the other smaller developers who don't have as much of an influence, thank you. Thank you for what you have done for us. Thank you for fighting on our behalf. Influential people like Kenny, who have quite a prominent position in the indie space. And Kenny wrote in response to Unity's final statement, "For me personally, FOSS, meaning free and open source engines, are the future. I want to invest in that. It's been so much fun to work with Godot of the past couple of days, and I can't wait to check out other engines. If you keep on choosing Unity, please do, but you've had your wake-up call." And as for the shills, those who try to gaslight us into thinking that everything was okay from the start, without words, let's put it that way. You know, you did the community a disservice at a time we needed you most, and now you reap the rewards of our efforts without ever having to put your neck out. And you know, we are all exhausted at this point. None of us wanted to get caught up in this, basically caught up in politics. Boring politics when all we want to do is make games and create cool stuff. And while the battle is now more or less over and we are moving into peacetime, let us not get complacent. You know, corporations will forever try to push the boundaries and see what they can get away with. And then, you know, push it too far, get pushback, apologize, roll back a bit, rinse, repeat. And as a consumer, you one day look back and you realize truly how much you have given up over time. So stay vigilant. You know, we have our lives and careers tangled up in a lot of these corporate behemoths. So it's up to us as a community to try to keep them in check. So never forget what happened this last week and let the lessons carry forward. And stay technologically agnostic. I think the biggest silver lining that has come from this, from many of us, is that it gave us a chance and motivation to look at other engines. You know, I've been so caught up in my own Unity project, I've been rather myopic in my focus. And I had no opportunity to really explore other stuff. It was all a bit of a distraction. But this gave me a moment to have a breather, to put tools down and get into like Godot. And I'm really enjoying Godot. And all this time I'm realizing this was under my nose. Godot has also doubled their funding as a result of this event. So in a way, Unity's trust betrayal was an unintended gift to a lot of us because we're in a different mental framing now. And open source has taken a whole new meaning. And I think many of us are now going to be investing in open source technologies. I, for one, am taking that stance. So expect to see a lot of new Godot-related content on my channel. I'm going to be doing some tutorials, some comparisons, and just documenting my discoveries. And while I may choose to finish up my current project in Unity, I don't think I'll ever be the advocate I once was. I'll need some time. So anyways, let's get back to making games and cool stuff, but let us not forget that which has transpired here, and let us look to the future as a united community. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.